Croeso, welcome, or Fáilte, which is how we say welcome in all three of the Gaelic languages. Fáilte. You're very welcome. I'm Dr. Ben O'Calla. I'm a lecturer here in the Department of Welsh and Celtic Studies in Aberystwyth University. In a minute, you'll see another clip of me talking about my work, what I teach and research and so on, so I won't go into that just yet. But we're delighted you've all been able to join us for this Saoirn event about Celtic studies in the 21st century. Over the course of the next 2 evenings, you'll be hearing talks and taking part in workshops run by myself and colleagues here in Aberystwyth. And we'll talk you through some of the topics that we're interested in and look at some of the things that we teach and so on, and hopefully leave you with a better idea of what Celtic studies actually involves. I hope you find it as fascinating and exciting a subject as we do. Celtic studies is an amazing subject which covers a huge variety of topics, looking right back into the distant past, but also moving up to the present day, and indeed looking onwards into the unknown future. To start us off, you're now going to see some clips in which fellow members of staff here in Aberystwyth and also some friends of ours in Cambridge talk about their work. And this will kind of give you a brief introduction into some of the things that we Celticists are interested in, and hopefully also leave you interested and ready to learn more in the upcoming sessions. So enjoy.
So, I am a Celticist and I study language revitalisation here in beautiful Aberystwyth. This means that I'm interested in how we can support languages which are now endangered as a result of various forms of oppression and marginalisation, and what we can do to ensure that they don't lose their communities of speakers. I'm particularly interested in Irish and in the ways in which the same economic forces which threaten biodiversity on a global scale also place linguistic diversity at risk. And I look at ways in which we can hopefully change this. As well as studying Irish language communities, I'm also very interested in Scottish Gaelic and Manx. Manx is the native language of the Isle of Man, and one which has undergone a very important and inspiring process of language revitalisation, although it's maybe one which isn't quite as well known as it should be. I teach Irish and Scottish Gaelic here in the department, and also courses on early modern manuscripts written in these languages. I teach modules on the Gaelic literature of both Ireland and of Scotland, and I'm happy that next semester I'll be running a new module on language revitalisation.
I'm a Celticist and I study translation studies. I look at the impact translation has on a text. How does translation change it? Should translation change it? Can you consider a translation a completely new piece of literature? I look at the significance of translation in literature and in a professional context, such as in a court of law. How does interpretation affect a court case, for example? I also teach professional Welsh, a course which teaches professional skills for the workplace in Welsh. Things such as how to write a press release, how to conduct an interview, editing, public speaking, translating, and much, much more.
Hello, my name is Ben Guy. I'm a Celticist and I study medieval Welsh genealogy. You might be familiar with genealogy in modern contexts, maybe through family tree diagrams or family history research, but you might not know that genealogy was being written in Wales and in Welsh as early as the 9th century. These medieval genealogies can sometimes be simple lists of ancestors traced back in time, or sometimes they can be much more complicated descriptions of quite intricate family relationships. They often begin with the ruling kings and princes of the day, but then they're traced back into the distant past until they join up with a world of legend and myth, as you might find in literary tales, like the Four Branches of the Mabinogi. Genealogy lies at the crossroads of studying history and literature. On the one hand, genealogy forms one of the crucial historical sources for showing us how native Welsh royalty expressed its own power. On the other hand, genealogy is also deeply interwoven into the rich literature of medieval Wales. Best of all, there's still so much that we don't know about it. There really is plenty for everyone to explore.
I'm a Celticist and I research a range of interlocking themes from the early modern period, the period from about 1500 to 1800, in which we see many of the features of modernity set out. So democracy, print culture, science as a discipline, and a stronger sense of discrete cultural identities. I work specifically on expressions of Welsh and British identities, as well as historical texts about weather and climate. In a comparative Celtic frame, I work on poetry by women in Wales, Scotland and Ireland.
Hello, I am a Celticist and I study and edit medieval Welsh poetry. So stuff going back as early as the 14th century, right through then into the early modern period. I'm also a poet myself and I teach creative writing in Welsh. And I also have a keen interest in Cynhannedd, which is a sound-based system for creating lines of poetry that is unique to the Welsh language and as old as the Welsh language itself, but is still widely used today as well.
Hello, my name's Paul Russell. I'm Professor of Celtic in the Department of Anglo-Saxon, Norse and Celtic in Cambridge, and I'm a Celticist. I'm also a linguist and a philologist, and I am particularly interested in the development and the history of the Celtic languages from the earliest evidence onwards. My research focuses mainly on Irish and Welsh, but I also bring in other languages as well, including Latin. A particular research interest of mine is in language contact. So when the Romans arrive speaking Latin in Britain and encounter the Britons, what then happens linguistically? And this is why we have so many Latin loanwords, for example, in Welsh. An extension of that into the medieval period is my interest in Latin texts in medieval Wales, which existed alongside Welsh texts as well, and particularly sometimes Welsh texts that are translating Latin texts, such as translations of Geoffrey's History of the Kings of Britain.
So now that you've all managed to log on to the platform, in order to access each session, just click on the main room that you will see linked to the right of your screen when in the lobby area. And from there, it should be fairly intuitive to find your way around. If you click on the title of each respective session listed in the agenda in the main room, you'll get access to a link to either join via Microsoft Teams in the case of live sessions, or if the event is being pre-recorded, you'll see a YouTube stream. If you have any problems, you can email the address that you see on the screen at the moment and someone will get back to you ASAP. If you do happen to miss any of these sessions, you can always access them on demand after the event through these event box pages.